Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the American Tier 10 Free XP medium tank, the M60. Now it's been a while since the M60 was actually on the channel. I looked it up and it's been well over a year. This is still probably one of my more favourite Tier 10 medium tanks because, well, it's just one of those tanks that, you know those tanks where you take out for a spin and it just seems to go well 90% of the time. This is one of those tanks, but I don't really play it as much as I used to because, well, I 3-marked it, and the last video I did was 3-marking it. And when I tend to 3-mark tanks, I tend to sort of just lose that interest in it, and I tend to stop playing it as much as I probably once did. And that's just, oh, well, that's just me, that's just the way it rolls, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. But we've got the M60 for your screen for the first time in a year. And actually, in that time, since I 3-marked it, it actually got buffed. So the M60 got a reload buff from 8.8 to 8.4, and a camo factor buff. Just made it a little bit better. But to be honest, it's a big target, and it didn't really make it really great, right? The strength of this tank is that, right, okay, the one thing the M60 doesn't have is armour. It has the type of armour where you might ricochet the odd shot here and there off the upper plate, stuff like that, because of angling and things. But for the most part, you don't rely on the armour at all. You're as big as a house, and you don't really have much camo, but you have an absolutely incredible gun. And on top of that, you also have great shell velocity and also great view range, as well as great mobility as well, because it goes at 60 kilometers an hour. It's generally an all-round very nice tank. It sort of gains the mobility and the slightly better gun handling on the M48 pattern for the loss of the armour. But, you know, on the whole, you can make the most of it, and I really enjoy this tank. And with the buff it got to its reload, as you can see now, with it fully pimped, it's 6.1 seconds, which is mad. It means that it's actually on par now with the reload of the M48, which is something it never had, it was part of the trade-off of having the mobility and the better accuracy on the M60 with the pre 6.0 way it was that the tank was more accurate generally, and it's, you know, more mobile than the M48, which was slower but had the armour. But now it can compete with that DPM as well. In terms of a crew on the M60, I have changed it up a little bit. I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanics, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, and Off-Road Driving. Now, I've changed it. I wasn't using that crew in these replays, but I have changed it since playing these replays, because these replays from a little while ago. And yeah, I run Clutch Braking and Off-Road Driving. Off-Road Driving to help it get up to 60 really easily, get rid of the ground resistances, make sure that you're going to hit that 60 really, really easily. Clutch Braking to make it so it turns quite quickly, because the one thing it doesn't do that much is that its track traverse isn't the best, so having that track traverse is quite nice for me. That just made it more comfortable for me. There's multiple different ways you can run the M60, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, you could run muffled shot and camo instead, and then put a camo net on for equipment, and you can actually have pretty decent camo in the tank. It's not like fantastic levels, but it's enough that you can, you know, play at 300 meters through bushes and not get spotted, and then use your fantastic view range, spot up, get great assistance, right? There's multiple different ways you can play this tank. There's multiple different ways you can set it up. That's just one of the ways I've been messing around with and making it nicer for me. The other thing that you could do is the same as the M48 pattern has for me, is have rapid aim, because the turret traverse is a little bit slow, and if you're having stuff like clutch braking, you're going to turn on your tracks really quick, and your turret isn't going to keep up, so you could definitely have the rapid aim to try and help your turret traverse be a bit quicker as well. In terms of equipment, I do just run RAM events and optics, make the DPM as good as possible, view range as good as possible, yeah, the DPM just as good as possible. Makes everything all round really nice on this tank. You don't need vert stabs because the gun is just that filthily good anyway. And yeah, like I said, there's multiple different ways you can run it. So, in this game, the first one, we're on Heilbronn. And Heilbronn is a map that I'm not a fan of. Not because the map's poor, just because people play it atrociously. People play this map so badly it hurts, and it's usually from the enemy team spawn that you're seeing right now. Usually there's a lot of them that camp on this hill where this mouse has gone, where this dragon is, although it's a dragon that's tier 8 and a tier 10, right? Might let him off a little bit. And they all camp at C0 as well. And then, for some reason, maybe 2 tanks leave their spawn area, and then they get ganked by everything, and then you just get penned in and wrecked, essentially. And it was really irritating. It happens so often on Heilbronn that it's one of those maps that you see and you just feel like, well, the game's thrown, right, just from the get-go because of the way the team's set up. And it's just one of those frustrating ones. The map frustrates me like that, and it's really annoying that I keep seeing it as well. It's like every third or fourth map I see all the time, Heilbronn. It's like, oh, come on now. It's just a frustration, right? Because I don't necessarily think it is a bad map. I just think that people play it atrociously, and there's multiple different ways you can play it to make the most of it. And it's kind of sad that it is played the way it is. But we managed to push up quite nicely to this C9 area. We're up to 5.9k damage with 1400 assistance. There's only 2 tanks left. There's a tank that swindles circling his EBR, and there's that mouse, which is just going to get wrecked by my 350 heat pen. There's nothing the poor mouse can do when you've got 350 heat, and you can just slap it straight through the turret front every time. So now that mouse is dead, there's 1 tank left. It's the 113. I'm going to try and speed my way there, but he is getting wrecked by everybody, and yeah, the likelihood of getting there is, yeah, well, as you've just seen, non-existent. As you see with the turret front pens there, the turret armor isn't the best. We finished with the victory, 5 kills, 6.2k damage, 1400 assistance, ace tanker, high caliber, and 1700 base XP. A really nice game for the M60. Like I say, it's one of those tanks that I just take out, and it just seems to go well 90% of the time. It's like, you know, there is tanks that you will take out in this game, and you will play them, and it will just be like putting on a glove, right? It's the perfect fit. And you just play it, and it always goes well. You really enjoy every single second of playing it for the most part, as long as teams do their bit. And you can just have some crazy high games. And it's one of those tanks that you just play that, for some reason, you just consistently get those really good games that you don't really get in many of the other tanks. And that's the M60 for me. Put in the comments what your tank is that you play like that you consistently do better in that tank than you would do in anything else, and you just get those really nice games. You just have a blast no matter what, right? So this second game, we're on Highway. That's the word. That's the map I was thinking of. And we've got this spawn, which isn't the best spawn. And to be honest, on this game, I play this really mentally. And somehow, some way, it works. Because at some stage in this game, I just decide, screw it, I'm a light tank, I'm going to do light tank things. And it shouldn't work, but it does, because, you know, why not? So we started off on this ridge line here, because this ridge line is a great place, especially with the view range of the M60, to get good spots out of the people crossing the JK line. You can get good assistance from people shooting them, if there's people that don't have as good a view range as you. The T95 E6, unfortunately, that's on my left, does. But you're spotting them, and you're seeing, as we've already got 1500 damage on that cross in the first 1 minute and a half. This position is really good from our spawn, and like if you catch people out crossing on that JK, you catch people crossing into the town, you can get a lot of assistance, you can get a lot of damage out, and it's pretty damn nice position to take. So as you see, we spot the Cranvar. We may take a hit, we tracked him in place, and he's getting absolutely wrecked. And we got a bit of assistance on it, and we shut him down. So nearly in the first 2 minutes, we're up to 2k damage and 1300 assistance. And this is where I kind of go, you know what? Was that it? Is that Cranvar, Super Conqueror, and VK the only things that have come this way? Let's go see if we can spot it. Look at the gun line we have on this 9 line. And then we spot the 60 TP. We get a shot on the move into him. Unfortunately, it doesn't pen, but it ricochets. Like I said, this is something that I should not get away with. I just start YOLOing, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to run around here, see if we can keep the 60 TP lot lit up. Hopefully people will shoot it. Maybe we'll spot other things that are camping down on the 4 line, because things do like to be at F4. Or maybe, well, case in point, Grilla 15. We just spot him up, get a shot into him. He starts getting shot just about. There we go, we started taking hits. And like I said, this is where I've just decided, you know, M60, I'm an M60 light tank, I'm not a medium tank. We're just going to use the 60 kilometers an hour top speed to run around like an absolute lunatic, see if we can spot anything, and try and get some big damage. So now the team's pushing out the town. I'm like, okay, I'm going to push aggressively with them, try and get some shots into this 60 TP. He's fully locked onto us. I'm trying to go for the drive wheel to keep him in place, but unfortunately we don't track him, and he just managed to get a shot into us on the move. just before he dies, which shaves half our hit points off, which is a shame. But with the M60, we're like, oh well, whatever, we'll keep going. Let's spot them up for our team. Let's try and get as much assistance off these guys as humanly possible. So this Progetto 65 is spotted up. We try and get a shot into him. Unfortunately, we don't pen him. Then we get a bounce, a lucky bounce there from the General. General probably should have penned us there. I mean, he doesn't have 240, 250 pen, which is guaranteed to go through. He has like 220 odd. But still, the M60 doesn't have the best armor in the universe and probably should have penned us there. It's what it is. So we're still spotting these people up to 3.5k damage, 3k assistance. Unfortunately, we derp like an absolute idiot. We auto-aimed a shot at the gorilla, but we didn't go far enough around the corner. We ended up hitting the ridgeline, and that costs us a lot of health. That was an idiot moment. We shouldn't have auto-aimed. We should have just aimed our shot, and we would have killed that gorilla quite easily. But it is what it is. So we're aiming for the cupola of the Jagdpanzer there. I'm believing in the M60's incredible accuracy. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite pen, but we load the heat because 350 heat pen and Mouse, Jagdpanzer, super heavy tanks cannot stand a chance against the 350 heat pen of the M60. And tanks like the 121B, like, you know, you load heat, they just have no hope. And as you see from spotting some of these people, are up to 5k assistance as well, which is pretty nice. We'll lead the shot quite well on the AMX-13105. I initially led it too little, and I realised, oh god, I've got heat in, which means I don't have the shell velocity, so I let it a little bit more, and we got the shot into that guy. The heat round, straight through the lower plate of the Jagdpanzer, shuts him down as well. There's an E4 on the other side of that ridgeline. The Progetto comes behind us, but fortunately enough, that guy isn't looking at us. So we go for a shot into the back end of his tank, because I was hoping to retrack him and possibly break his engine, but mostly retrack him, which we ended up doing, and we get to shut that guy down. Now we're looking at the guys in front of us, which is the General from earlier. We don't pen the General. We actually hit his gun and unfortunately don't kill him, which is an absolute shame. Kind of hoping we would have done there. I'm quite surprised we didn't do there. Then we detected, fortunately, I think it was the CS63 ends up missing us, and we just used this destructible cover in front of us to just hide from those guys. So I'm waiting for that TD to come up behind them so that they spot him, so that I can poke out and get shots, and hopefully they won't keep looking at me and they can turn around and face the danger behind them. So we get a nice shot into the CS63. Hopefully he's looking another way. We get another shot into him. He's got a TD behind him, but he's still looking at us for some reason. It's like, bro, you've got an E4 directly behind you. He's realised now, finally. Waiting for the reload. Can we get the shot in to finish him off? And we do. Took him long enough to realise there was an E4 behind him, and fortunately enough, when he did, he turned and gave his ass to us. We finished the game with the victory. 5 kills. 5.7k damage, nearly 5.1k assist, which is like, you know, 10.7k combined. Ace tanker, 1778 base XP, a really nice game for the M60. A tank that was buffed a long time ago. Hell of a lot of fun. It was buffed in the Blitzkrieg Reforge. And yeah, the M60 is always worth everything. It's such a great tank. It's one that I really enjoy. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!